Ben was a powerful name in the city. Towers of glass reflected his success, and luxury followed him wherever he went. His cars were admired, his suits envied, and his influence unquestioned. Yet behind the wealth lived a deep, quiet loneliness. Women loved his money, praised his lifestyle, and competed for his attention, but none ever paused to admire his character. Ben wanted love without a price tag. So one quiet night, he folded away his expensive life and wore rags instead. He left the city with nothing but dust on his feet and a single question burning in his heart. Who would love me when I had nothing? Ben arrived in a distant village just before dusk, hungry and weak. What shocked him most was not the hunger, it was being unseen. People looked through him as if he were already a ghost, too poor to matter, too dirty to respect. He moved from homestead to homestead asking for food. Doors slammed. Laughter followed. Insults replaced compassion. Each rejection stripped away another layer of his pride. By the third day, his feet were blistered, his stomach cramped, and his confidence shaken. At a lively homestead near the dusty path sat Vika, beautiful, admired, and ambitious. She dreamed openly of escaping village life and often boasted that she would only marry a rich man. When Ben approached her yard, he bowed respectfully. "Please, sister," he said gently, "I am starving." Vika wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Begging is not my problem," she snapped. "I don't waste food on useless men." Her friends burst into laughter as she turned her back on him. Ben walked away in silence, the weight of humiliation heavier than hunger. That evening he sat beneath a mopin tree, staring into the dark. "So this is how the world treats a man with nothing," he whispered. As night fell, Ben reached a small hut near the fields. A single lamp flickered. Outside sat Mary, quietly preparing her evening meal. Her clothes were plain, her hands worn by honest work, but her presence carried warmth. Before Ben could speak, Mary looked up. "You look tired," she said softly. Ben swallowed hard. "I don't want to be a burden, but I haven't eaten today." Mary glanced at the pot, barely enough for herself. Without hesitation, she scooped a full plate and handed it to him. "Food shared is food blessed," she said. Ben ate slowly, fighting tears. Never in all his wealth had anyone given him their last portion. As he ate, Mary watched him quietly. "You don't beg like other men," she said. He paused. "How do they beg?" "With anger or entitlement," she replied. "You beg like someone who once had dignity." Ben looked up, startled. "You see too much." Mary smiled gently. Pain teaches the eyes. Conversations that changed everything. From that night on, Ben returned, not to beg, but to help. He fetched water, repaired fences, fixed roofs, and worked the fields beside Mary. One morning, Mary found him mending her broken fence. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I do," Ben replied. "Receiving without giving back empties a man." She studied him. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" He hesitated. "From losing things." That night, as they sat by the fire, Mary asked gently, "Do you miss where you came from?" Ben stared into the flames. "I miss who I thought I was." Mary nodded. "The person you are now seems lighter." Her words stayed with him long after the fire died. Another evening, rain poured heavily. Ben arrived soaked and shivering. Mary wrapped him in a blanket. "Why are you kind to me?" he asked suddenly. Mary paused. "Because one day," she said softly, "I was hungry too. Someone fed me without asking who I was. I promised myself I would never forget that feeling." Ben's voice cracked. "If the world had more Marys, no one would starve." She laughed lightly. "And if the world had more Bens, fewer men would be afraid to start again." Vika watched everything. She noticed how Ben worked harder than other men, how Mary laughed more, how evenings at Mary's hut were warmer. One afternoon, Vika confronted Mary by the river. "You enjoy collecting broken men now," Vika sneered. Mary continued washing clothes. "I don't collect people." "He's a beggar," Vika scoffed. "He'll drain you dry." Mary looked up calmly. "Empty hands don't scare me, empty hearts do." Vika stormed away, humiliated. That night, Ben noticed Mary was quiet. "Did I bring trouble to your door?" he asked. Mary shook her head. "Trouble only follows fear. I am not afraid." Ben looked at her deeply. "You should be." She met his gaze. Only if you plan to betray my trust. He shook his head firmly. Never. Love did not arrive loudly. It arrived in shared silences, in laughter over burnt food, in tired smiles after long days. One night Ben spoke quietly. If I asked you to walk a hard road with me, would you? Mary smiled. I've been walking hard roads all my life. He reached for her hand. She did not pull away. I own nothing, he said. Mary squeezed his hand. Then nothing owns you. When Ben finally asked her to marry him, his voice trembled. I cannot promise comfort. Promise honesty, Mary replied. I promise. I accept. They married simply, the village whispered, and Vika mocked loudly. You married dust, she sneered at Mary. One day you'll regret it. Time passed, then Ben revealed the truth. He took Mary to the city. Gates opened, guards bowed, the beggar vanished, and the powerful man stood revealed. Mary was silent for a long time. Are you angry? Ben asked softly. No, she said, I am thinking. About what? About how the same hands that served you food now sit beside a powerful man. Ben knelt before her. Those hands are the reason I kneel. The return of Vika. The news traveled fast. Vika rushed to the city dressed in borrowed elegance. I knew you were special, she said boldly. I should have been your wife. Ben looked at her calmly. You had your chance. You saw me hungry and turned me away. Mary stepped forward. You didn't refuse him because he was poor, she said gently. You refused him because you didn't believe kindness could ever repay you. Vika had no answer. She left carrying regret heavier than gold. Ben and Mary returned to the village often, not to display wealth, but to restore dignity. Ben never forgot hunger. Mary never forgot humility. And the village whispered a lesson for generations.